Hello and welcome to this NCFE provider session on the Essential Maths and English in Everyday Life qualifications. My name is Charmaine Phelps and I'm a Provider Development Officer here at NCFE. On the Provider Development team, we support our centres with the planning, delivery and preparation for assessment of our qualifications. The objective of this recording is to explore the essential maths and English and everyday life qualifications. We'll look at general information assessment, content and assessment guidance. We'll look at maths, then English, and then finish with a short summary. So general information to start with. We'll begin with the support that you can expect from the provider development team. The Provider Development team are committed to NCFE's core purpose of promoting and advancing learning. To achieve this, we plan to engage with you in curriculum consultations at 3 different stages: onboarding, at the midpoint to check on delivery, and then towards the end of the first 12 months as you prepare for assessments. During the onboarding session, after you first gained approval to deliver the qualifications, we'll learn about your centre and any specific support needs and cover pre-assessment preparation, key quality assurance processes, and how to access the teaching and learning resources. And in addition to the onboarding process, we will also support centres with an ongoing programme of CPD looking at topical and relevant areas of interest. All the Essentials in Everyday Life qualifications are listed on this page along with the links. In case you haven't already visited our qualification pages, I'll take you there now. From the NCFE website, you can search for any of our qualifications. So if we go there first, and if I'll just type in everyday life, and that should, it does bring up all of the essentials in everyday life qualifications. And then from the actual qualification page, you will see the registration and certification fee, the guided learning hours. In the qualification details tab, it tells you who the qualification is suitable for, how it's assessed. And in the support materials tab, this is where you will find your all-important qualification specification. There's a fact sheet and a support handbook. And then in the teaching materials tab, that's where you'll find the workbooks. Another way that you can find the essentials in everyday life qualifications is if we go to sector specialisms, English and Maths, then this tells me all of our English and Maths qualifications, so functional skills. But down here we do have the essential English and Maths in everyday life qualifications. And there's a whole page giving the information about these qualifications and quick links to all of the individual qualification pages, which are all laid out in exactly the same way as the one that we went to previously. We'll go through some useful information now. The registration fee for each qualification is £2.50, and this nominal registration fee is donated to the Prince's Trust. The qualifications are not funded apart from the Level 1 Maths and English, which are approved for stepping stones funding, and as a result, we've made all of the Level 1 units for both Maths and English available for registrations as unit programmes. It is worth speaking to your funding provider, as there may be other ways of securing funding for different levels, depending on your learners. The qualifications are assessed internally through a portfolio of work. The partial certificate fee has been waived for this qualification, So you can draw down a partial certificate if learners have not completed the certificate in full, so they still have a record of the units that they have achieved. We've produced free workbooks with accompanying tutor guides for all levels for both subjects. Internally assessed qualifications must be externally quality assured by NCFE. Centres are allocated 2 external quality assurance or EQA visits per year for each sector group. These qualifications fall within the sector group Preparation for Life and Work. You can find out more information and prepare for a review from the link shown on this slide. The qualifications were especially developed to allow for your learners to progress either through higher levels of the qualifications or onto functional skills or GCSE. They may also progress from these qualifications onto an apprenticeship or vocational qualification. However, it is worth noting that if a progression route expressly states that GCSE or functional skills is required, then a learner would still need to complete and pass those assessments. Staff delivering and assessing these qualifications should be occupationally knowledgeable, competent and qualified to make assessment decisions. And internal quality assurers will need to be both occupationally knowledgeable, competent and qualified to make quality assurance decisions. In terms of the qualifications staff would need, they would be expected to have at least a level 2 in functional skills or 4 in GCSE. Now we'll turn to the assessment. The qualifications are achieved through a learner-produced portfolio of evidence, which is internally assessed and quality assured by centre staff and externally quality assured by NCFE. We've created workbooks that contain some sample tasks for this qualification, and these can be found on the qualification page of the website. The tasks in the workbooks are not mandatory. You can contextualise these tasks to suit the needs of your learners to help them build up their portfolio of evidence. The tasks that we've created, however, have been designed to cover all of the learning outcomes for all units and provide opportunities for stretch and challenge. You'll find our free workbooks and tutor guides in the Teaching Materials tab of each qualification page. You will need a portal login to access the resources. You can speak to the portal administrator for your centre to request your own portal login if you don't already have one. If the portal administrator needs help with creating additional users, they can contact our customer support team. We'll give you the number on the final slide. A centre may choose to create their own internal assessment tasks. There are 4 essential elements in the production of successful centre-based assessment tasks. These are ensuring the assessment tasks are meaningful with clear, accessible outcomes, appropriate coverage of the content, learning outcomes or assessment criteria, having a valid and engaging context or scenario, and including sufficient opportunities for stretch and challenge for higher retainers. The initial assessment at entry level 1 incorporates all of the learning that was previously considered to be pre-entry. To encompass this wide range of learning, you're required to assess learners against a 10-point continuum. The assessors should conduct an initial assessment to determine which stage on the continuum a learner starts at. There is a section within the qualification specification that shows the 10-point continuum in full. There are 10 developmental stages in the continuum, each with a stage characteristic and a stage descriptor. These stages should be used by the assessor to make a decision against each learning outcome. A learner transcript can then be produced to show where the learner is at. Now we'll take a look at the content and assessment guidance. Starting with maths. The qualifications aim to focus on the study of maths and offer breadth and depth of study, incorporating a core knowledge. They provide opportunities to acquire knowledge and practical skills in maths and support progression to a qualification in functional skills. To enable learners to develop their skills in using whole numbers, entry level 1, develop their skill in using whole numbers, fractions and decimals from entry level 1 to level 2, common measurements of time, money, weight, capacity, length, shape and space, handling information and data, and solving mathematical problems. On this slide, you can see all of the mandatory entry-level units listed side by side, which helps you to see how learners progress through the entry levels from a starting point of working with numbers up to 20 at entry level 1 to working with numbers up to 1000 at entry level 3, and so on. By all means, you can pause this recording to take a look at the content in full. At level 1 and 2, not all of the units are mandatory. At level 1, units 1 to 10 are mandatory, and then you can choose, in order to make up the full certificate, from either Unit 11 or Unit 12. At level 2, units 1 to 9 are mandatory, and then you can choose either Unit 10 or Unit 11. You may like to consider where your learners are progressing when deciding which option to pick. For learners who will eventually progress to GCSE, they may find the algebra unit more beneficial. And then for functional skills learners, the mathematical skills unit, which covers problem-solving skills, may be more appropriate. The delivery and assessment guidance sections that follow each learning outcome within the qualification specification state clearly the focus of the unit and what the learner must demonstrate to show they've achieved each specific assessment criteria. In this example from Level 1, Unit 5, Introduction to Converting Decimals, Fractions and Percentages, learners must demonstrate on at least one occasion that they can achieve each of the assessment criteria. For other learning outcomes and assessment criteria, the evidence requirements will vary. For instance, at Entry Level 2, Unit 7, Reading and Comparing Positive Temperatures and Using Simple Scales, to achieve assessment criteria 1.1 to 1.2, learners must demonstrate on at least 2 occasions that they can achieve the assessment criteria. Within the delivery and guidance section of the qualification specification, there are example tasks that you could use as evidence of your learners meeting the assessment criteria. So for example, level 1, be able to work out simple ratio and direct proportion using whole numbers. Suggestions from the qualification specification are here. So tutors could provide learners with a range of everyday scenarios that require simple proportion to be calculated. For example, diluting juice, scaling up or down a cooking recipe, or thinning paint. For entry level 2, be able to read and compare temperature differences. Some example tasks that are given include a question sheet or practical tasks with reading temperature from room thermometers in either degrees Celsius or degrees Fahrenheit. Match temperature readings with thermometers that show the temperatures, compare 2 temperature readings, or put in order positive temperature readings. And then at entry 3, as an example, be able to represent information in appropriate ways. Some example tasks are given as question papers, practical tasks, which could include represent information given in a list in tables, simple line graphs, bar charts, pictograms or diagrams, collect information and represent it in tables, simple line graphs, bar charts, pictograms or diagrams. On this slide, we have the direct links to log into the portal and download each level of the resources. So if you would like these slides, which have the quick links, by all means do get in touch with me. The contact details will be on the final slide. And within the workbooks, each assessment criteria is listed numerically with clear information giving a breakdown of the required strategies that need to be learned. Some assessment criteria have useful tips highlighted in box for your learners. Some assessment criteria include practical tasks that your learners could complete to meet the assessment criteria, making it relevant to their real lives. All assessment criteria include practice tasks that can be used as evidence to show learners have met the assessment criteria, or can be used entirely as practice. And then the knowledge check could be used as a summative assessment for the whole unit to show evidence of achieving the assessment criteria. You'll notice for the assessment of some assessment criteria, it suggests using functional skills past assessment questions as evidence. All the qualification pages are on this slide, and I'll show you where to find the assessment materials now, as well as some other resources that you could use to support your delivery. To find the functional skills qualifications and related resources, go to the qualifications drop-down, click on delivery support, and then click on functional skills. And from here, I've got quick links which are useful if you were to be delivering functional skills. But further down, I've got a link to quick links for each of the qualification pages. So I was just looking at maths, but we've got English up above, and the qualification pages, I will go to maths just now, but the qualification page for the English qualifications also follows the same format. So if I go to level 1 in maths, and then from the qualification page, I can access assessment materials. I've got past paper assessment packs. So if in the Essentials in Everyday Life, it suggests looking at some past functional skills questions, this is where you'll find them. There are some additional past papers that are online. So if we go back to the delivery support page, for functional skills, and the quick links are actually listed here. So online sample assessments, I've actually got some additional online sample assessments here. These are the online papers, but you can certainly access those questions and use those with your learners for level 1 and level 2 maths and English. And now we'll take a look at English. The essential English qualifications aim to focus on the study of English, offer breadth and depth of study incorporating a key core of knowledge, provide opportunities to acquire knowledge and practical skills in English, and support progression to a qualification in functional skills or GCSE in English. The objectives of the English qualifications enable learners to develop their skills in listening and responding, speaking to be understood, and speaking to others. Develop their skills in reading, develop their skills in writing, develop their spelling and grammar, provide an understanding of alphabetical order. To achieve these qualifications, learners must successfully demonstrate their achievement of all learning outcomes of the units as detailed in the qualification specification. A partial certificate may be requested for learners who do not achieve the full qualification but have achieved at least one whole unit. This slide shows the mandatory entry-level units listed side by side. You can see how learners progress through the entry levels. At entry level 1, units 1 to 7 are mandatory and units 8 and 9 are optional. The learner must achieve all 7 of the mandatory units plus either Unit 8 or Unit 9 in order to achieve a full certificate. Both Entry Level 2 and Entry Level 3 have 8 units each. They cover a range of reading, writing and speaking and listening skills. At level 1, there are 7 units, and at level 2, there are 6 units. These qualifications differ from functional skills as they also contain prose writing and poetry, so have a link to the skills in GCSE. In the delivery and guidance section of the qualification specification, there are example tasks that can be used to meet the criteria. However, you can use other evidence, for example, photos, your own resources, videos, or display work. This is an example of a unit summary and shows the objective, learning criteria, as well as the range needed. So for this particular example, we have explained the purpose of basic punctuation and use basic punctuation correctly to clarify meaning. It also gives you the range that would be required to be evidence. This is another example and shows the detail for delivery and assessment evidence. Here I've put the links to the English workbooks and tutor guides. Again, I've mentioned you will need a portal login to access them, but they are free and your portal administrator can set you up with a password. The resources include learning outcomes, key learning points, activities, knowledge check, and useful tips. The workbooks are all laid out in the same way, and each learning outcome is then broken down with any key terms listed. Each assessment criteria is listed numerically with clear information giving a breakdown of the required strategies that need to be learned. All assessment criteria include practice tasks that can be used as evidence to show learners have met the assessment criteria or can be used entirely as practice. And then, similar to maths, the knowledge check can be used as a summative assessment for the whole unit to show achievement of assessment criteria. We have the links here to the English functional skills pages should you wish to look at how the qualifications compare. You can use these to support with progression from essential skills in everyday life to functional skills, or to use some of the past paper materials or other resources such as the learner checklists. So in summary, the registration for the fee for these qualifications is currently, at time of recording, December 2024, £2.50. And that includes the certificate, and that is passed directly on to the Prince's Trust. The partial certificate fee has been waived. The qualifications are internally assessed and can be used as a stepping stone to functional skills or GCSEs. And we have free resources to support delivery. And on this final slide, you have your key contacts, myself and Patricia on the provider development team. My specialism is maths, Patricia's is English, and then you have contacts for the provider development team as a whole, account managers, and customer support. Thank you so much for your time. I hope this recording was helpful for you.